All right, welcome to the Geek Switch podcast. I guess it would be turning you on new and nerdy, but fuck it. We,
Welcome to the Geek Switch podcast. Fuck it.
I mean, that's kind of what we did agree is our new tagline.
Fuck it, we're doing it live.
That's pretty much it. Of course, we've got Fury here this week, and we have special guest returning for the first time in over a year, Suzu.
Woo! Welcome.
Okay, we're going to be talking 6.0. WoW somehow coming back from the dead with more subs, and let's see, we got BlizzCon in a couple days and a new expansion in a week. So I know I just recently came back. Fury, I believe you've resubbed as well.
Yep. In fact, they just hit my credit card a second time, so this is officially the second billing cycle I've been in for.
Oh.
I know. I've gotten nothing accomplished. It's awesome.
Don't forget, you're here forever.
It's about true, where it's just like, I'm going to go play a little Final Fantasy 14. New patch just came out, new class. Oh, yeah, I need to go back and deal with this before the expansion hits. I was trying to get a second legendary cape, but without the bonus, it's like, fuck it. No.
Yeah, like there were a couple times where on my priest, who was my alt in MOP, but I think is gonna be my main again in WoD, where I'm like, hey, I should get her the cloak maybe, and then I'm just kind of like, cause like she was at the fucking Test of Valor step the last time I bothered, and fuck that.
See, and the funny thing is I hit the Test of Valor step right before they're like, oh, by the way, when we patch for 6.0, that's going away, but we're taking away the buff that helps you get through the rest of it, and it's just like, fuckers?
Yeah. Like, I have one character with it, all that shit's fucking account-wide, so who the fuck even cares? Just whatever.
Yeah, I pretty much went, oh, there's an epic cloak I could work on. Not going to have time for that, so...
Yeah, I ain't nobody got time for that.
Well, it wouldn't be such a big deal if it wasn't fucking going away.
Yeah.
It's happened before. I mean, there have been a number of epic items that go away with new patches. What was it? The first epic priest staff? That
way with Cataclysm, yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, these things happen.
Well, you can still get. I thought you could still get the staff from Cataclysm because I've seen people somewhat recently turn it in.
No, I'm actually thinking of the one from Vanilla.
No, not the legendary staff from Cataclysm that we got from Firelands. We're talking Benediction,
right?
The epic staff from Vanilla. Yeah.
That's the one.
AKA the sexiest staff in the game.
And if you don't have it, well, tough.
Mm-hmm. Only cool kids have it.
Yeah, and you think the cloak is such a multi-tiered thing where there's such different varieties. Like there's the tank one, there's the healing one, or a spellcaster one. It just seems weird that they would pull that away. Because the one we're getting for Warlords is a fucking ring.
Mm.
Unless they do multiples, like they kind of did the gym this time, and I don't know. A ring just sounds like a kind of a crappy legendary.
I mean, they've also said that they're gonna do like an old style legendary where it's like only one person at a time can work on it in your raid group and shit like that. But I can definitely understand the logic behind the ring though, just because that's the one slot that you can't, like, since you have two ring slots, it's not like the legendary's existence invalidates it, like with cloaks, right? Once the legendary cloak came around, it's like every time you saw a cloak drop in Siege of Orgrimmar, it was like, everyone's just sarcastically like, oh yeah, cloak drop! And then, like, occasionally you were bringing in some guy who like hadn't played in a while, they were main switching or whatever. It's like, what the fuck? Somebody actually needs a cloak? What's wrong with you?
Pretty much. I don't know. With the ring slot though, it seems like everybody can use that versus like class exclusive armor pieces or whatever, or weapons that we've seen in the past. So especially with the stat squish and the new approach to stats, it seems like no matter what, it's going to be a ring that's useful to somebody, to a lot of classes. Versus,
I mean, that's the one. I mean, anyone can get it, right? It's just like the club.
Right.
And it's legendaries for all, so fuck it, we're going to have a new color. It's going to be plaid. That's going to be the new
Right.
item class.
Right.
Super legend, epic legendary.
This is part of, you know.
It'll be medicine.
I've heard of that name.
Well, I mean, it's going to be kind of interesting to see what happens with the new expansion now. Since myself and Fury basically didn't play most of this expansion, how, in a rating scale, how big of a change was 6.0 in the stat squish and
I mean,
everything?
I've like barely. I've not fucking rated it all in 6.0.
You haven't touched it?
No, I haven't touched Siege of Orgrimmar since like there was like this 1 week in August where they asked me to come in because they had like 5 healers post out.
Oh shit.
But I mean, you know, it's just usual, like, you know, well, actually, no, like from what I heard at least, the first week was kind of crazy just in that, you know, you had to, like, adjust while the class changes. And then apparently for the second week, Blizzard was just like, fuck it, let's nerf everything by 50%. And so it's pretty much, it was pretty much just... I still keep this on my desk.
I still keep the video bookmarked. Whenever I'm feeling down, I turn that on.
Good. But, I mean, still, though, yeah, from what it seems now, from what I've heard now, you know, it's kind of like, you know, fucking Siegecrafter dies in 90 seconds, and it's like, pretty much it's on the level of, first week it was on the level of, like, doing Lich King content or Cataclysm content after the patch, where it's still roughly as hard as it used to be, just kind of weird in that all the balance is fucked up. But then second week onward, it was like doing Sunwell after 3.0, where it was just a complete joke. I still remember it. That was great for me because my guild didn't get Kill Jaden until like the last fucking minute, like 11:30 p.m. the night before 3.0. So it was like, we beat the game, and then 2 days later, we're playing New Game Plus.
Yeah, the words New Game Plus are kind of an evil. Don't make me happy right now because I've been playing Dark Souls. Yeah, because I feel the need to take my scrotum and beat it against the cinder block.
Actually, I do have one question for Suzu. I'm really curious about your impressions of healing in 6.0.
I did heal a little bit, and it's kind of... See, somebody... I read some forum threads that said, oh, this is just like Cataclysm healing, and they were clearly by people who didn't heal in Cataclysm, like early Cataclysm, because it's actually the complete fucking opposite, where, like, mana is infinite, but a lot of times you don't... It's very difficult to have the raw throughput to keep up with the damage. Right?
So now
like, I can splash, I can spam flash heal all I fucking want, and a lot of times I need to, because the tank is getting hit so hard that only flash heal spam can keep him up. Especially like the tank is dumb and like pulling entire rooms at once. You know, it's kind of like tanks aren't gods anymore, and healers aren't as godlike anymore.
So
Yeah,
has it become more of, instead of mana management, more of like cooldown management?
Something like that. And I mean, this is just we're talking about like level 90 at 6.0. Level 100, it's like, okay, mana is much more limited, but also, you know, damage is not all as damage versus throughput is not as fucking ridiculous. So, you know, it's kind of more evened out.
Well, I also heard didn't they take away a lot of the healer's movement in Instacast?
Yeah, they got. I mean that's just across the board for casters in general that they took away a lot of instant cast abilities. But yeah, specifically for healers, take a lot of like instant cast abilities away just because they're there was so much of that shit that they had to create a fight like Fuck the fucking Bloodthirsty in order to challenge healers, right? Like, that's like one of the few fights that's legitimately difficult for healers, and legit, you need more than like 3 or 4 healers to do it. And that's because he just sends out interrupt pulses all the time, so it's like you're stuck with your instant casts, and it's just kind of it's like I was saying before we started that one of the things that Final Fantasy 14 healing really made me realize is that WoW has kind of gotten shitty. Healing WoW has gotten kind of shitty in that there are so many like instant cast spells and smart heals and AE heals, and it's really good that they kind of did a mutual disarmament of that shit.
Well, and that's also 14 is, it feels like Burning Crusade of WoW to me, and where you have kind of an easier raid, so you had like Karazhan with the tower, but the Bahamut turns have been fucking brutal. And then there's a hard mode on top of that, and it's just like it caters well to the casual and the hardcore raider, where like WildStar it was super hardcore raiding and nothing else, and WoW kind of fills in the gap between all of them now with the whole mythic. I don't know, because the whole flex rating thing's kind of interesting to me. I basically was able to come back in the game where I was able to gear up enough to start doing flex and a couple normals right before 6.0. And now that everything is flex except for, not flex difficulty, but the whole you can have people or 25 people. Doesn't flex go technically up to 40 or something?
30.
30?
And you can thank me for that, because at BlizzCon last year, when they announced that everything was going to be flex, they were saying it was going to be like 10 to 25, and so I went up to on the panel there.
I do remember that.
I'm like, like, okay, flex right in 5.4 being capped at 25 makes sense because everything else is capped at 25, but in Warlords of Draenor, you only have one difficulty with a hard cap, and that's mythic, and everything else is flexible. So 25 seems like kind of a weird arbitrary thing, so why not 30? Why not 40? And so, they did 30. Maybe they were realistically, maybe they were probably thinking of doing that anyways, but because I am on record as the first person to suggest that, I take full fucking credit. So, all y'all fuckers who are in Group 6, just take Suzu for your raid spot.
See, Suzu, you needed to go again there. You needed to go BlizzCon again this year and say something that gets you recognized as well as the red shirt guys, so there can be a cardboard tube weapon in the game.
Well, it's funny. It's funny. Last year at BlizzCon, I think it was the Convert to Raid podcast party I went to, and Lore, formerly of Tank Spot and was the end, sees me, and he's like, "Hey, you're that guy who asks questions every year." Not quite as good as, "Oh my God, you're the dick guy" from 2010. Still, pretty good.
I don't know. If you had to choose between those two, would you be the question guy or the dick guy?
The dick guy, of course!
Come on, he does have a techno song.
Absolutely, yes. Fucking awesome mix. Thank you, Mr. Voltron, for that.
I haven't listened to Voltron shit in a long time.
Oh, awesome stuff.
Yeah, I don't think he's done much, at least as far as WoW remixes lately, because I don't think he's played WoW for a while. But yeah, that fucking guy.
So we started talking about BlizzCon. Is Big Crit's going to be a presence there this year?
I don't think there's going to be an official Big Crits group. I'm not going. I think a lot of people decided to take this year off. That's what I remember from when tickets were going on sale and all that shit.
So, what are your thoughts on Metallica being the closing band?
That's kind of fucking crazy because I don't think anybody saw that coming.
Yeah. I mean, sorry. I mean, I'm not, into, like, normal people music. Most of the music I listen to is, like, video game and anime soundtracks and shit, so I don't really have an opinion either way. It's like, all I really know Metallica from is that they were one of the bands that was, like, really butthurt back when, like, Napster and shit started being a thing. That's literally, like, the one thing I associate with them with. Because I am a nerd who does not listen to normal people music.
See, Casey...
Fucking Lars Ulrich. Yeah.
See, Suzu might be a person who might appreciate that myself and Luke got Nobu Uematsu so drunk he didn't drink the rest of his tour, but...
Oh, really?
Okay, so Luke and I do guest... Luke still does. I used to do guest relations for a convention in Kansas City, and we had him up there as one of the guests, and because he was going to Nebraska to do Final Fantasy music. And of course, he has Earthbound Papas and stuff. I have a tendency to bring large amounts of alcohol when I run a green room. And we had basically all these different flavors of vodka, like cupcake, chocolate, glazed donut, and basically we just started feeding drinks to him left and right, and he was just like... there was one point where it was chocolate glazed donut shots with root beer milk.
Oh.
And apparently got him and his friends so drunk, they're like, we're not drinking the rest of this fucking tour.
Damn.
No.
Because that's the sugars, that's the fats. I mean, ouch.
They were just down in Onicon last weekend in Galveston, too. So,
were you there? Did you see them? Did they back away slowly and go, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you?
No, but I'm sure considering they were with Shion, they probably drank heavily again.
It's good you didn't totally ruin them. Shit.
But it's just like, people are like, you got the father of fucking Final Fantasy music drunk off his ass? I'm like, yes.
Is that a bad thing?
It's what I do to the most of the guests I know. Just because I've seen a voice actor or two throw up into a toilet, I'm just saying.
I'll be honest. I think I'd rather see them perform in one fashion or another than Metallica. So.
Yes. Well, I mean, I've seen more live Japanese bands than I have American bands, and most of the time when they're at a convention or something like that, they're there to actually perform and enjoy it and are excited to perform. And I don't think, like, I remember the interview with Ozzy a few years ago where he was nervous. He's like, I don't think they're going to understand me, and I guess that was one of his favorite concerts he's ever done. And I kind of was upset I didn't get to see Ozzy live at Blizzcon. I think that was a good concert. Metallica, I think they're just there for the check. I don't think they give a flying fuck.
Right. I don't know if they have a previously existing connection with WoW or not, but I don't know. I mean, I like Tenacious D. I like Foo Fighters. I thought those were great choices, and I thought they're at least relevant still. Metallica,
No, if we see
there are still celebrities who play or have played WoW, so it's very possible someone at Metallica.
Possibly. Yeah. And I realize that, like Robin Williams is out of the picture, but there's got to be other performers that have a...
there's a Royals pitcher that was really notorious for it, because he would go home from the game and play WoW.
Well, we had, I think, Chris Kluwe from the Minnesota Vikings. They used to play, football player. Still does, I think. And, there are a lot of sports figures.
Anymore.
No? Nah.
No.
Well, come to think of it, I don't think he plays football anymore either, so...
Well, no, excuse me. I thought you were talking about he still played football. Okay. I don't know if he plays WoW.
And I doubt we're going to see...
I know he doesn't play football anymore.
I seriously doubt we're going to see anything crazy or weird. Like, at least, with Tenacious D, we saw the Metal fight the Lich King. But I doubt we'll see ETC come out.
Glad I was there for that one.
I seriously doubt we'll see ETC on the same stage with Lars Ulrich, and though it would be kind of interesting to see Samwise up there with them, that would be kind of cool. But
well, I'm sure he'd have his fanboy orgasm meltdown there, but beyond that, I don't
It'd
know.
be nice for him. Yeah.
Metallica was not a selling point for me. That's all I'm saying. And I'm kind of curious what else they have to offer at BlizzCon. It seems like there's a lot of details that have already come out about 6.0. I don't know what else they can introduce there. I mean, when I went there in 2011, 2012, it was like, we've got Pokemon for WoW, we've got this other announcement, and general laughter throughout the crowd. So, what was their last time?
I mean, this year they're absolutely definitely announcing something new because there is that big gaping hole in the schedule after the opening ceremonies where they are all, like, that's always the first thing they do after the opening ceremonies. They talk about whatever the big announcement is, usually a WoW expansion. So, I mean, clearly they're talking about some new thing that is not an expansion.
I think it could be both, because it's a 2-hour block. They could do a new game and then the expansion.
I'm thinking that if they announce a WoW expansion, they'll talk about it at an existing WoW panel on the schedule.
The only reason I was thinking it might be after, if they break that 2 hours up into an hour with the new game and an hour with an expansion, because that would lead into the Warcraft movie panel, which, if we don't get a fucking trailer of some goddamn sort, I think people will riot.
You know, all they have to do is run a trailer and say, soon.
Well, no, there was that test footage that they showed at Comic-Con?
Right. They can run it again, extend it 30 seconds, and say, coming soon.
I think it's one of those things that they weren't going to show it again, though.
But so, do you think maybe they pulled a bait and switch with Titan? Made the announcement, we're canceling it, and maybe just surprise everybody at BlizzCon? I
think so. One of the rumors I heard, this was I think this was a post on NeoGAF from Jason Schreier, Kotaku. He was saying that he heard. I mean, they posted like that big thing after the announcement that was canceled happened. They posted that big thing about what they heard it was.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently Jason Schreier was also told by the same source, I think, that basically that canceled project was reworked into what is going to be announced at BlizzCon. So basically, you know, it's very possible that the what's going to be announced at BlizzCon will be, you know, something will be similar to what Titan was going to be, but it will not necessarily be Titan. Though, yeah, I did actually think that the timing was kind of weird that they basically announced that Titan was canceled like a week or two before the schedule dropped. Like, I just thought, like, maybe they're just fucking with us. Maybe it's like, you know, they're doing this big. Maybe they're just trying to throw us off the set. Because, you know, if they didn't announce that Titan was canceled, and we saw that schedule, everyone would be like, "Oh fucking shit! This is it. This is fucking." Everyone would have thought that.
This is true, and it seems. Look, they're known for dumping a lot of money into a project and writing it off. But considering it's a lot of money in 8 years or more, it seems like they'd find some way to at least use that technology or whatever they developed and fold it into something else. I mean, hell, I don't know. Maybe it's a new announcement for the third expansion for StarCraft. Does that come out?
We know that's going to happen. That would not surprise us.
That would be. That's another thing that if that was the big announcement, then there would not be a getting on the schedule. It would be like StarCraft 2, what's next?
Yeah.
But yeah, though, I think I remember hearing that, like, to an extent, it's like a rite of passage for a Blizzard game to be like burned to the ground and started over again.
I'm fucking calling it now. It's going to be an HD version of the Warcraft adventure game.
I'd buy
it! For Android and iOS.
Oh, that's horrible. That's horrible. Don't do that.
Or a remake of Rock and Roll Racing. Now that I'd be happy with.
I think it's going to be WoW in space. You know, to compete with WildStar. Just cause.
Except WildStar has kind of burnt itself to the ground. When the lead designer of WildStar goes, "Fuck it, I'm out." Community guy's like, "Fuck it, I'm out." The community's like,
Yeah, I don't know if you knew this. Lange actually was in consideration for their PR guy for WildStar. Unfortunately, or fortunately, he didn't get that. But I think that would have been pretty interesting.
Because I think that Frost left because the community hated it.
Oh,
I gave that guy so much fucking shit. It's just like, wow, no.
No, I haven't followed that. Was he like a wannabe ghost crawler kind of thing, or just a dick?
Neither. He was just kind of not that likable, I guess.
Was he the community punch baby, maybe?
Token scapegoat.
Yeah.
Have y'all seen the Glassdoor.com page for Carbine?
No.
After the big layoffs happened, a bunch of people like posted there anonymously, you know, reviews of as former employees, and they just like totally shat on them.
Oh yeah, there was a big layoff. That's right.
Most of the people here are cool, but the management, fucking morons. Fuck it. That's pretty much the TLDR of the whole thing.
Nice.
Well, I mean, I did enjoy my time in WildStar. It was a fun game, but it just there's certain design choices that were just like, really, I don't understand. Fuck it.
Like my experience with WildStar in a nutshell is I played the beta for a bit, and I thought, you know, the combat gameplay was cool, where everything's all telegraphs. Then out of curiosity, I like pulled up a video of one of the raids, one of the 20-man raids. I just watched them like, I'm too old for this shit.
and that's the 20-man, which is the entry raid that you have to tune for.
I mean, you know, keep in mind, this is at the point where I'd already decided I was going to retire from WoW at the end of Siege of Orgrimmar. Like, if that game had come out like 4 or 5 years earlier, if that game had come out like, say, you know, in the gap between when the guild I was in before Big Crits fell apart and I went casual, and when I joined Big Crits, I would have been all the fuck over it. But at this point, like, I'm not, you know, you know, the ideal MMO for me is something like, I mean, either WoW, just because that's what I've been playing forever, or something like Final Fantasy 14, where like it's not as much of a commitment to see all the content there, you know. Not like you have to lock. I mean, you can, you know, dedicate yourself that hardcore to it. People do. Ugh.
But I mean, even then, it's not as hardcore as I would say WoW, or definitely WildStar with the 40-man and the attunement and all the old school fucking WoW bullshit.
One of the things I found really interesting about 14 is that it's kind of reversed from most other MMOs, especially WoW, where it's like the hard raids are 8-man, and the big raids, the 24-man raids, are basically LFR.
Yeah.
Easy bullshit.
And but I mean, it's also weird because it's not a large group of people in the raid. It's 3 parties. Three parties, which is it's such a weird concept, anyways. But I mean, also, I mean, if this would have been a shit expansion for WoW, I probably just would have went headlong into 14 because their new expansion is probably going to be pretty good. And the one thing I've noticed from all the live letters, and after watching the FanFest last weekend for UK and the week before for the US, the people making Final Fantasy XIV like MMOs, like Western MMOs.
Yeah, of course.
Like fucking Final Fantasy. And if anyone, I have a collector's edition of 1.0 on my shelf. I was one of the people who bought Final Fantasy XIV when it first came out, where I have a computer that can run, you know, at the time, Crysis 2, and could have run Crysis 2 on high, and you install Final Fantasy XIV, and your machine cries like it has been beaten repeatedly. Because they would do stupid shit like, hey, this player model has blah, 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 thousands of, millions of polys or whatever. And this bush has 1/3 the same amount. And you're just like, really? And they actually had a panel.
Yeah, TDC. Yeah, I know. I was gonna bring that up, where it's like they did post-mortem, and two of the points they brought up were an obsession with graphical fidelity, and that
amazing.
the people making the fucking game didn't actually like MMOs.
Well, yeah, okay. Fury, you have to understand. There was some weird shit in this game, like there was no jump button.
Oh, so like Guild Wars when that first came out.
Yes, and then the other one that really drove me nuts was the fact that to attack, you had to get in a ready stance by unsheathing your weapon and then attacking. So using an ability would not immediately put you into an attack mode. So it's just like you run up to something, shink, okay, now I'm going to attack. Oh shit, there's another mob. Oh, it's running away. Oh my god.
Like, I know there are fanboys who think that Final Fantasy XIV, like at the end, right before it was shut down to prepare for Realm Reborn, was better than Realm Reborn, who I think are mostly like Final Fantasy XI fanboys.
Yes.
Kind of moved on, but I don't think there's anybody who thought that Final Fantasy XIV 1.0 was good.
The only thing I could say about it, fidelity-wise, the character models were probably the best thing we've seen still to date. At the time, I mean, they were pretty insanely high. Where
that's what Phoenix is good at, right? Really, really pretty-looking graphics. This is that fucking fly at MMO.
But there was insane little things, like you had the inertia of your character movement and the physics, like so it wasn't the stop run, it was the whole you would actually move into a motion of running or walking, and like the little weird shit on your belt had physics, and it's just like, really, it's unnecessary. It's cool, but it's fucking unnecessary. And
yet people were criticizing WoW for not being graphically updated.
Mm-hmm.
So
WoW needed WoW needed the player model thing needed to happen like 2 years ago. I mean, let's talk 6.0 a little bit, because I mean that's for the first time on Horde side, at least on Valen, I'm noticing a shit ton less pandas all of a sudden. And Goblin, I'm actually seeing like some of the older races, because like to me, I never would play an orc because they look like shit. And now I'm maining an orc because they look badass.
I'll be honest, character models, I didn't care one way or the other. I know the goblins and the pandas looked really pretty, but for me, it was just like, you tend to lose your character in a raid if that's what you're doing all the time. Or you're zoomed out far enough that the details don't really matter. And the downtime, But, I don't know, that's just me.
But I mean, I think the orc and the human models were at like 12 years old at this point, because they were.
I will admit, the human models hurt to look at. So when it was time to switch over to Horde, I wasn't missing that.
And you know what? I will say that the human models still don't feel all that great in comparison to all the Horde races, because I felt like they got a pretty good amount of love, except for poor little blood elves, because.
You know what? We're still the sexiest. You got the model upgrade. Well, the sexiest on the Horde, I should say. Obviously.
Pandas.
Alliance, female dwarf with the spinning braids when you cast. Yes. That's clearly the one true master race of World of Warcraft. But for Horde, blood elves, still the sexiest.
If there's any race or hairstyle that really says get a grip and go for a ride, it's the dwarves.
Actually, I think
innovation.
The dwarf males, even, I think that's the best of the redone on the Alliance side for sure. I think the Horde side, it might be. I think Tauren or Undead might have the best redo on that side.
Yeah, I did get to play my Tauren. I like it. So now with even more downtime, because I'm not raiding as much. Yeah, I do get to see my character more, but again, Oh, to be fair, as a Shadow Priest, you go Shadow form, and it's like, I'm black. All black.
Yeah, racist.
The details don't matter when you're just a walking shadow.
Come to think of it, I think outside of playing a Femdorf a little bit in like beta, I don't think I've ever played a new model race. I mean, it's because for most of beta and for all of my 6.0 time, I've been Blood Elves because still the sexiest.
It'll be kind of interesting seeing their update because it's like even the player models for the Draenei and the Blood Elves really weren't that bad to be. I mean, they weren't as nice as the Goblins and the Worgen. Well, transformed Worgen because no one. If you played Alliance, you're like, nope, I'm gonna stay transformed. Don't want to see the human model.
So quick question here: what's your favorite change with 6.0, and what do you think is the biggest change with 6.0? For me, I'd say one of my favorite changes is the fact that they reduced the amount of spells that you have. So they really, not only is it just stat squish, but it's also spell squish. And they just kind of like cleared off a whole mess of spells for priests and different abilities for other classes.
And they didn't necessarily get rid of them either, because like Hunter, Serpent Sting got moved into Arcane Shot. So some of the gameplay is still kind of there.
Oh, absolutely.
Different form.
But I take a look at a priest, and it's like Shadow Priests lose, as far as heals go, everything but Prayer of Mending and Flash Heal.
All I know is as a Ret Paladin and a Prot Paladin, or Ret Paladin, is the removal of the stupid 2-minute timer bullshit or whatever the fuck that stupid spell is.
Do you still have healing spells as a Ret Paladin?
I know it's
every spec hybrid has 1 or 2 heal spells.
Yeah. The weird thing I've been noticing as a bear tank is the whole there's a healing spell that if the procs you can use it in bear form, otherwise it'll pull you out of bear form.
What?
Healing touch.
Yeah.
It does the same thing in feral as well. It's like, hey, you have an instant heal. But don't hit that button again, otherwise you will fuck yourself while tanking.
Yeah, it's a little weird.
Okay, so those are my favorite things about 6.0. What do you got, Dante?
I would say player model and the whole flex system, because before I joined Big Crits, I was in a guild where we would have to sit people because we were a 10-man that had 20 people. So we didn't have quite enough to do a fucking 25-man, but on most average nights we would have a full 10 and maybe 15 people on, and they would kind of cycle. We could have honestly done 2 10s, but most of our additionals were not tanking classes or healing classes. They were additional DPS. And now we could do, you can run a guild with 2 to 3 solid tanks, a set of healers, and a shit ton of DPS if people want a DPS. There isn't that, hey, we have to sit you because you're the 11th person.
Yeah.
I think that is a really awesome addition to the game because, I mean, if you really want to do the 20-man and you want to do fucking hardcore and mythic, that is still there. It is still an option that is not being taken away from anyone, and it just makes the game a little bit more accessible on the Raiden that isn't the LF. You don't have to do fucking LFR anymore. LFR is like the worst thing ever. I would rather play League of Legends than LFR. I would rather play a marathon of Dark Souls 2 with people watching me than play LFR if I could help it. And I wouldn't say it's with 6.0, but Warlords will give you alternate paths to getting gear that is the LFR gear, which is you're going to be entry point to it without fucking doing LFR. It's same eye level.
Yeah, the challenge mode thing.
Yeah. And the fact that it's not, I guess it's a 6.0 because it's a Warlords thing, but to do heroics, you actually have to pass Proving Grounds.
Proving Grounds,
yeah.
Proving Grounds,
because I always looked at LFR as like the fear factor of WoW. Like, what are you willing to go through to get some gear, to have a shot at some gear? It's like, what kind of shit are you willing to eat in order to get some of that purple?
Yeah, I mean, they seem to be like, I don't think they'll ever actually kill it, but I think they seem to be trying to like discourage people from doing it, because it's like you don't get tier sets in LFR, you don't get good trinkets in LFR. They have, I mean, everything is flex now except for Mythic. They have the LFG tool, so you can more easily find groups for things that aren't LFR. You know, I mean, they'll never die, but they seem to be doing what they can to kill it without actually killing it.
Yeah, I was wondering if this was a step in that general direction where they just go, okay, we got Flex, we got Mythic, get rid of LFR.
I think it served a slight purpose for the casuals at one point, but I mean, I would consider normal mode casual anymore. I don't think, I mean, if Flex ended up being definitely casual this expansion, LFR was just trolls.
Or do you think LFR is going to serve that transitional step from like their dungeon tier into raiding?
I don't think it should, because unfortunately the mechanics are so dumbed down in LFR that I just, over the last week trying to fucking get my heirloom, people are just non-gemmed, non-enchanted. I can understand not being enchanted if you're that fucking casual, but there's no excuse not to be gemmed. It's cheap as shit. And then it's just tunnel visioning to the point of stupidity.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, stop attacking the boss. Stop attacking the boss. Why are you still fucking attacking the boss? Because in LFR, you can keep fucking attacking the boss. And it's just like...
Yeah.
I didn't LFR much this patch extension because I was a hardcore raider who didn't have to do that shit usually, but I just remember, one of the few times I did, I just remember LFR Garrelon, and this one run where this one asshole was like deliberately triggering his stomp, running under him and then running back out over and over again, so he'd constantly do it. And we killed the boss anyways because it's LFR, but still it's like so that like if you trigger that, you just instantly die. It's just like, hey, you're not supposed to do that. And we're just going to instantly kill you for it anyways. Even if you're not under it at the time, just fuck you.
LFR is like a morale killer. It destroys your soul because it's like, the one that got me is, I don't understand how anyone could fail spoils on LFR. All it is waves and waves of ads.
Right.
I mean, it's not a real boss. It's you're fighting a room, not a boss, and it's like, how the fuck are people failing this?
And even if all tanks,
it's gigantic trash pull. Loot.
Yeah, and it's like, even if both tanks end up on one side, you can still kite the mobs and get through it. Wow, I don't know what to tell you, Dante.
I don't think I've ever actually done. I don't think I've ever actually had the pleasure of doing LFR spoils. So, yeah.
So, you know what, Suzu? That's my challenge to you before next week. I want you to go through all of LFR SSO. Or SO.
Fuck that. Fuck that, and fuck you.
No, I wanted to do it just because I want to see the Twitter feed.
I would rather stick my dick in the blender.
You might actually
That's what it is.
You might actually see his tweets go in lowercase as his soul is slowly killed.
Like, even Garrosh on LFR is sad because there's one range, and that range has one fucking job: to kill the siege engineer. That's all you have to do. You can sit there the entire fucking round. We don't care. You don't have to come back to the main group. Just sit there. Just sit there. Nope. You can't. No. Okay.
No, you can't come and play. Stay out there.
Nope.
Stay out there.
Oh, you missed him. Oh, look, the entire raid is wiped now.
Yeah.
Oh, look, everyone's leaving now. Oh, yeah.
Susie, what about you? What's your favorite thing about 6.0?
Probably similar to probably the just the raid lockout changes. Specifically, I just like that they had the balls to finally consolidate 10-man heroic and 25-man heroic into one difficulty, because we no longer will have fucking stupid bullshit arguments over which difficulty is harder. Where well, actually, I mean, Paragon helped this a lot, because back originally when the split when they first started doing it, there were a lot of 10-man raiders who were convinced that 10-man was harder because all these guilds had done 25-man, but very few of them had done 10-man. Not realizing that the reason why that happened was because all of the good guilds were doing 25-man because that's where the E-Peen was. And so it was just the scrubs doing 10-man. And then with, well, I think it was Warlords of Draenor, Paragon decided they were going to go 10-man. So it's like, okay, finally we have a good guild doing 10-man that will shut everyone else the fuck up and make them finally realize, no, 10-man isn't harder, you just fucking suck. Like, seriously, those arguments, I mean, like, I get that there are probably some edge case fights where 10-man is harder. Because, like, in general, in my lots of experience in 25 and a little bit of experience in 10, it's like 25-mans are more difficult to execute, but 10s tend to be much less forgiving of mistakes.
Yeah.
I was going to say that's about true.
I mean, 99% of the people who were convinced 10-man was harder, they weren't as good as fucking Blood Legion and whatnot. They just sucked.
Well,
I think 10-man comes with an inherent bonus too, where you have 15 fewer people, which means more space to spread out without Blizzard changing like the size of the room or splash effects or area of effect.
Yeah, and in any spread fight, the advantage goes to 10.
Yeah. So
in any
that's
the fights where 25 tends to be easier tend to be ones where like you split the raid in two, right? Because that tends to be like really awkward in 10. Shit like that, I can see being harder in 10. But I mean, overall, like I said, it's just there are times where 10 is harder, but most of the people who are convinced that 10-mans are harder across the board, like were just kind of deluding themselves into thinking they were as good as the best 25-man guilds, and they fucking weren't.
I would say the biggest difference is what Fury was talking about is 25-man. There's definitely bosses. If you drop 3 or 4 people, you're not really in trouble. Where 10-man, you drop 2 people, one of them a healer, one of them a tank, you're fucked.
Yeah, and plus beyond that, like there's a lot of balanced bullshit that's happened solely to keep 10-man and 25-man in line. And now that's not an issue, right? Now they just focus on one raid size for all the PvE balance, and if that creates weird imbalances between 10-man heroic and 30-man heroic, who the fuck cares, because it's easy mode, relatively speaking, right? Like, class balance is kind of only... I mean, balance in general is generally only, like, really relevant at the extreme end.
And, well, I mean, there is going to be that sweet spot, unfortunately, because I know Fury and I have talked about this before.
Oh, yeah.
Because there is a point where even battle reses will scale with the amount of people you have in the raid, I believe. Mm-hmm. So there's going to be that sweet spot where people go, oh, if we have 23, we get 3 battle reses. But if we have 22, we're not, so...
Well, I mean, that depends on... That also varies with fight length, and it's like, at this break point you have a 3rd battle res come up 5 seconds before the boss raises and kills all of you. Not too helpful. But I mean, I can kind of understand how... there could be a breakpoint thing in some respects, but I think they've been doing their best to kind of avoid that, where it's not like at X people you have 3 things fuck you in the face, and at X plus 1 people you have 4 things fuck you in the face. Mm-hmm. Except at X people you have 3.75 things on average fuck you in the face.
Well, and I think the nice thing about this whole Flex system is it will allow Blizzard to really and truly put out more content faster, I think, in the raid difficulty. Because I'm sure that from a design philosophy, that's got to be a bitch. Because you can go, this mechanic will work awesome for 25 men, but...
Yeah. You know, I saw an interesting graph where it was charting out the number of days between different patches and, of course, different expansions. And it was... Actually, it felt like there was a dearth of stuff in Mists, and it was reflected in the graph. I would like to see more content more often.
I mean, this time around, it felt like they didn't realize that it was going to be over a year until Warlords of Draenor came out, until after they released Siege of Orgrimmar.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, previously, I don't know about Cataclysm, but like Lich King, I feel like when Icecrown Citadel dropped, they knew that it was going to be like a year until Cataclysm, and they had shit planned out, right? That was a big reason why they gated Icecrown Citadel, period.
Oh yeah.
And it wasn't until the patch dropped in December you couldn't actually fight Lich King until February. That's why they had that stacking buff where they had the stacking buff built in where things got easier over time. That's why they did Ruby Sanctum. That's why they had that planned out.
Yeah.
Cataclysm and Mist, though, it really felt like they were like, oh yeah, we're really going to be able to, get this shit out faster and not going to have a huge fucking dead period between the last patch and the next expansion. And then it's like, okay, the last patch is out. Fuck, this is going to take us a year.
And then there's all these other games that are putting out content rather consistently. Like, Guild Wars 2 is just kind of badass about how much content they put out. Even Final Fantasy.
I'm not really a big believer in the if that's what you're getting at, the whole like Blizzard Times releases to counteract other MMOs. I really don't think it is.
I don't think it'll ever be that good, but I mean Final Fantasy is a good example where the fact that they're announcing an actual expansion is just like, what the fuck are they going to do an expansion considering the content they've put out for 2.1, 2.2, 2.3, 2.4 has been enough to be qualified almost as a small expansion.
Yeah.
I mean, story-wise, I mean, just to get caught up for 2.4, it took me quite a bit of pushing. I think maybe 8 to 10 hours to get through the story or something like that.
Yeah.
Wow.
But granted, this was 2 major patches worth and the side quests and shit, but it was a decent amount of content. And then each one of those is capped off with a new boss, not necessarily a raid boss, but they've also added new raid content every fucking patch, and it's just like, so when they announced the expansion, they're like, by the way, our expansion world is going to be, or the new continent area is going to probably be bigger than the original game area, and it's just like, okay.
I kind of wonder how much of this is just that they had a lot of it mostly in the pipe going into the launch of Realm Reborn. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of interesting. I kind of wonder like what kind of differences there are behind the scenes as far as like their culture and their process between like the FF14 team and the WoW team, right?
Well, I mean, Rift is a really good example of that because when Rift went from beta and building to live, their dev team became their live team. And that's how they were able to put out a decent amount of content in a relatively decent amount of time, is they kept really the same size team for developing content. And then when they decided to do an expansion, a big expansion, they went back and pulled people back. And unfortunately, WoW has always been that whole small production team, huge dev team, right? Because that's the old traditional EQ way of doing things. And that's what WoW is. Culture ways is pretty much based off, isn't it? Because I mean, the original WoW guys were EverQuest guys.
Some of them were, yeah. I mean, I think well, I'm not sure how many of them actually worked on EverQuest as a thing, but like, I just know off the top of my head that like a lot of big WoW devs were like hardcore EverQuest raiders and shit. But yeah, I think the most interesting thing to me about 14, the way it works, is that they don't really do public test realms, and yet somehow they release patches and they aren't horrible clusterfucks, which is, I just found to be kind of weird.
Actually, yeah, you're right.
One thing that, like, if you played WoW in the vanilla days, it's like they release a patch, even if it's like a minor patch, without testing it, and it's a complete disaster. Like Blackwing Lair, I remember, was a complete disaster when it was released because they didn't public test it because they didn't want to, like, spoil it, basically, which is, obviously what happens now with every fucking raid being tested.
Now that you mentioned that, about Final Fantasy, I was like, yeah, I don't think I've really... When they spoil shit, they kind of do it on purpose, like... with the recent FanFest, he's like, they're not going to release the name of the new class, but he's wearing a fucking Batman shirt, and he's just like, yeah, I kind of like the Nolan films. And the class is the...
Your class is the Batman class?
It's just like, yeah, and it's like, no, it's the Dark Knight, and then the next one
is...
Dark...
I see what they did there.
Well, and the next one that's going to
didn't get that.
In the next class, UK this weekend, he takes off the Batman shirt, and there's a 007 logo with the golden gun, and he's just like, I'm a fan of the the Roger Moore Bond, especially the man with the golden gun. And the interesting thing about their press conferences is, I know it's slightly a language barrier thing, but anytime it's something that's plural, they will be very specific to say classes, plural. And he says, man with the golden gun, and everyone's just kind of like... It's the first time it's very single adjective. And like, So it's like, okay, so what could this be? And they're kind of cheating as an MMO, because they can pull from 13 main fucking games and all the side fucking stories for content. Because, like, the Tower was in Final Fantasy III, the Crystal Tower was in Final Fantasy III, all the Primals have been in other Final Fantasy games.
Yeah, there's a shitload of lore they can rip off of.
Eorzea still has its own lore, and it's pretty badass, and I have to say, the end of Final Fantasy XIV and the A Realm Reborn opening, which is 8 minutes long or something, because it's the end of one game, and it was kind of neat when they shut off the servers. Like, okay, we're ending Final Fantasy XIV, but before we go, here's this badass fucking cinematic of the world ending.
Yeah, I remember seeing that. Like, someone frapsed it, and it's like, the servers went offline, and then they played that one FMV.
Which is a better cataclysmic cinematic than WoW had. Because Bahamut just comes out and goes, all your shit.
Yeah.
And now the neat thing is that same cinematic is the opening, basically the part up to where everything stops and everything ends, and everybody kind of gets saved, and then you have the actual opening to Final Fantasy Realm Reborn. So it's long as shit, but... Yeah, they have this kind of infinite well of stuff to pull from.
So I'm actually going to use this to segue. Has Blizzard announced any special events for the transition to 6.0, the actual Warlords of Draenor?
Yeah, it's already happening.
No. For example, like the night before Wrath hit, there's a thing that went on in Outlands where people were turning into zombies and shit like that. And it only lasted, I think, 24 hours. But it was like one of those special events where people are like, what the fuck's going on here?
More or less that's going on. The Iron Horde has invaded the Blasted Lands.
Yeah.
Right.
That wasn't like the night... The zombie event wasn't like the night before. That was like about a week after 3.0 dropped.
Was it a week? Okay.
It was for a few days, then...
Yeah.
It just kind of escalated more and more, and then it just kind of stopped, and then they brought back the Undead Invasion event from the original Naxxramas patch.
Right. Yeah.
I still remember how everyone was convinced, even though it was very obviously like escalating to the point, and then it just stopped. People were convinced that they shut down the event because people were crying about it, which was fucking stupid. But
yeah.
I still remember my favorite part of the zombie event was on my priest. People would spread the disease to NPCs and shit, and I would cleanse the disease. be like, no, why are you doing that? And I'd be like, ha, you're
I just like talking cross-faction as a zombie. I thought it was like, seriously? You not see this happening?
See, now that'll be the point where WoW really gets to be fucking weird, because we've got cross-realm fucking auction house, which, you know, goblins... Right. It kind of makes sense because goblins are greedy fucks. So, I mean, in all reality, they could be the ones running it, but that's a mechanics thing. But the moment we get cross-realm fucking chat, like on server, it's just...
Cross-faction?
Cross-faction, yeah, sorry.
Cross-faction.
I feel like that is the one. I mean, because I mean, it's been brought up to that before. People want to do like cross-faction raiding, and it feels like that's the one line that they really don't want to cross if they can help it.
Because Rift has already done it. Rift actually, I think one of the more recent expansions that they did, they actually, in story, had a legitimate reason for both factions to come together to defeat this bigger evil fucking foe. And they kind of went back. I mean, they should have gone back their separate ways, but the mechanics are already there, so...
Dude, once I hate to tell you, look, Blizzard had a chance to do that with this last expansion in the Siege of Orgrimmar.
Oh, yeah.
They didn't.
So that would be the best time to do it, so...
Right. And I think they went right past that opportunity and said, no, we're not crossing this line. We got enough shit when, you know, shamans and paladins went cross-faction. I don't think they'll let that happen.
It's like, for a PvE-focused MMO, it's stupid to split your characters into two factions. For a PvP-based MMO, it's stupid to not do that, essentially. And WoW still kind of tries to be both, so... It's like, on one hand, the two-faction split sucks for PvE because you just get, like, you know...
Well, and it goes back...
to switch factions and...
It goes back to the title, too. It's not Lovecraft. Well, actually, that would be the world, but...
That's a different game.
That's an adult game. That's an MMO where you date fucking pigeons.
I think it's, you know, weaponized dildos and Cthulhu, so...
I think that kind of already exists somewhere on the internet.
Yeah.
For God's sakes, there's a fucking anime dating game where you date fucking pigeons. That's the world is already gone. Hateful boyfriend?
Hateful boyfriend is a dating sim.
Where you date pigeons.
I haven't played it. My sister has.
It's pigeon love. It's not right. Unless you live in New York, and then I'm sure, or you're Mike Tyson.
I can see that. Mike Tyson needs entertainment too.
Mike Tyson has a weird pigeon obsession. That's all we know.
Is it really so strange? Now kiss. Yeah, okay, I got nothing. So
the fact that Suzu's just quiet is disturbing.
I don't know. You want me to talk about pigeon fucking? Is that
it? Says the man who slapped his dick against the keyboard.
But I can make shit up about how pigeon pussies feel if you want.
Susan, the fact that we've had the person to my left here, over here with Casey, anytime a popping sound happens, we still swear it's a hamster flying out of his ass.
Well, it just so happens that, you know, cardboard tubes are great for restraining pigeons.
We've definitely hit that point of the weirdness level of the podcast.
Does this mean we're close to the end?
Yeah.
Because
now I have this horrifying image of just Suzu with a pigeon in a cardboard tube being beaten against a keyboard and...
Oh yeah, please share
Why the fuck do you actually have that next to your desk still?
I don't know. I didn't have a reason to not have it there.
So
kind of a mess. It kind of, oh shit. Okay, guys, the webcam is okay.
I think Suzu's massive dick or paper towel roll knocked that off. So
I was just kind of like adjusting shit there and just kind of fell.
Wow. Well, okay. Are you gonna rate it all for? Because I know we're trying to drag Fury back into it because Blarg's got a thing going where there's enough people who are like, "Hey, we'll come back and Siege of Orgrimmar kind of sucks."
Anything sucks after a whole fucking year, really. Like, objectively, Siege wasn't that bad. It just went on forever, right?
yeah. Oh, absolutely.
That's kind of. I feel like the main reason why Ulduar it's so highly regarded is because they killed it after 4 months, so nobody got tired of it in that time.
Mm-hmm.
I still think it's fun.
Yeah. I mean, it was also just a really fucking good raid, but I think it's also just a lot of it is just that it did not outstay its welcome.
Well, and that's the other thing. Isn't Warlords going back to the weird tiered winged thing? It's not as...
They're trying to... Yeah, they're trying to make it non-linear to an extent. I mean, just because, again, it makes, like, farming easier or something like that. I forget their reasons, but...
And that's the problem I've had with... MOP is even in LFR and normal, just all the raids are just, all right, we're going here. Okay, we're going here.
Yeah, I think although I think it's like the big thing is that the problem with non-linear raids is that under the old lockout system, it got kind of weird when it's like, oh, you have some people who killed bosses A and B, and some people who killed bosses A and C, so who wins? Yeah. And now that everything's flex and everything's loot lockouts, it's like, okay. We can just do it, if everyone's killed bosses A and B, except this one guy who's killed boss A and C, guy who's killed boss A and C can do some other raid for the loot from B. Or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Oh, God, raid lockouts. Loot lockouts. Sense.
DKP. Don't forget about DKP.
That's a 50 DKP minus for mentioning DKP.
I think you've just lost the game. Ah, fuck.
Oh!
That is the one thing I can't stand about conventions anymore, is hearing the words butt scratcher and you've lost the game, and it's just like, you stupid little fucks.
You're welcome. By the way, any upcoming conventions? I know it's kind of the holiday season. I mean, who holds
there's one in 2 days, but... Yeah. Actually, there's an anime one here in Dallas in 2 days. There was one last weekend in Nebraska that's really cool, which actually had the friend of the podcast, Kyle, on it, who did Algernon the Observer. I keep forgetting to get a fucking printout of that signed by him. It's one of the better raid bosses, and it's just like, oh, I know that bastard, kill him. Which is really screwed up. I mean, as an anime fan, Suzu, I mean, I don't know your view on dubs and subs all that much, but it's like the voice of Algernon the Observer is also the voice of Aizen.
Of who?
Aizen in Bleach.
Oh, yeah, that Aizen.
And it's just, and he's in Naruto, and he's like Gohan, and it's just like, no, it's just weird. You should be this character. No.
Yeah.
There's a big Dallas Fan Days where they announced the cast of Arrow. I'm gonna go just to meet John Bowerman, because John Bowerman is the shit. But no, nothing down here. There's RTX next year. There's fucking PAX South. Shit.
Oh, they're doing a South one now?
Yeah, it's gonna be in San Antonio.
That makes sense.
End of January.
I would have actually expected Austin, because everything's there. But
no, they said the first year it's going to be in San Antonio.
Ah, okay.
Because I'm hoping it'll be in fucking Dallas.
Yeah, I'm sure they're filling out places.
My fat ass is going to go see Armor Van Buren here at the end of next month, so I'm going to go to EDC Lovin' Festival.
Oh, where's the EDC at?
It's here in town, and it's called what was it? Lights All Night. And the first night has somebody I'd never heard of in Skrillex, and Skrillex can go die in a fire. And then the next night had one I hadn't heard, but I've liked the music so far, and Armor Van Buren, and a whole bunch of other stuff, and Cosmic Gates coming through town. But yeah,
Might actually try and catch the one out in Vegas. Yeah.
EDC? Oh yeah, I would have thought. I don't think I'll be healthy enough to go to EDC next year, but EDC in 2 years is my plan.
Cool.
Fuck yes. Big Crits reunion at a giant fucking rave?
there might be something. Yeah, we'll see.
That would
It's
actually
It's either like RTX or EDC.
First off, when it's a 3-day fucking rave where you watch, there's a wonderful documentary on at Netflix if you haven't seen it called Under the Electric Sky, and it is really cool. And it basically shows all these like. Unfortunately, they follow several groups, and one of them is the douche pack.
Oh, of course.
And it's like we're the original Wolf Pack. Fuck that movie. Rah, 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 beer on top of the truck. Okay. Just, like the people that you like hate to see in that situation.
Right. Yeah, they're going to be there. Doesn't matter. They're going to be there.
But apparently it's a event that they're really harsh on drug use because it is so big. Like, unfortunately, they do at one point show the med staff thing, and because I do med staff for ACON, which is 30,000 people, and this is 130,000 people, I'm like, oh fuck this, no, no. No, I know what it is like to deal with the ravers at a fucking small event. But yeah, I think if you've never seen that documentary, it's amazing.
I'll check it out. I've been meaning to. I heard about it, and I just haven't had a chance to sit down and watch it. So
it gave me a good appreciation for some new DJs. So
I like new DJs.
New.
Right. You hear what you want to hear. I'll hear what I want to hear.
I see what you did there.
But okay, so next week's BlizzCon, next week's Warlords, and probably we can talk about it in a month, because I think that's about a good amount of time to let an expansion kind of sink in.
Oh, sit back, digest.
Unless there's something fucking crazy that gets announced Friday that none of us fucking like. Like, if something comes out of left field by the way, we're announcing WoW 2 to coincide.
Ridiculous.
Sony's did it. Sony's coming out with EverQuest 3 for fuck's sakes, while still running EverQuest 1 and 2.
Jesus. Okay. Good for them. At least they're not shutting down the server. I'm looking at you, Nintendo.
What did Nintendo shut down?
The Mario Kart servers and some of the others.
Yeah, they've pretty much shut down all the online servers for like the old
Wii,
Wii games, not Wii U. Wii.
Yeah. Although, I'll throw this in there. So through the Electronic Frontier Foundation threw out a thing for the Library of Congress saying, hey, we've got all these games that have servers shut down and some of their functionality removed. How about we let people start up their own servers for those games that the companies have actually, no longer support?
Or the companies don't fucking exist anymore.
Right. So there might be hope.
Yeah. Anywho, let's wrap this up. I do want to thank Suzu for joining us for the first time in a year and not talking about terrible penguin sex.
Terrible pigeon sex, yes.
Pigeons. Penguin sex. Oh, it's been a long day.
Maybe if you sucker me into this next time, I can talk about penguin fucking. I guess I should find some penguins to fuck between now and then.
I've always found when I started, they just kind of slide away on the ice.
Just my entire fear is you would name it Pen Pen.
I understood that reference.
Yes. Because Ava isn't dirty enough. All right, well, again, thank you for joining us, and God, we don't even have a sign-off any fucking more, do we? Okay. You can always follow us at youtube.com/geekswitch. Facebook.com/GeekSwitch podcast. I think it's actually Geek Switch podcast now.
All right, cool.
Oh, it's geekswitch.net still.
Yeah. You can follow me on Twitter at NotFurioso. I
You
really am Furioso, but don't let the handle fool you.
Yeah, it is kind of weird of you. I'm at Kirwin, and Suzu, you randomly post wonderful stuff on occasion.
Yes.
At Suzushiro, Suzushiro.
Yeah, I'll be honest, some other fucker took Furioso before I could snag it, so fuck him. Yeah.
That's kind of what I figured.
Yeah. Didn't want to be like Furiosa 2. There's only one.
Yeah. Or like I think what some people do is like the real whatever.
Yeah.
But,
So I took it the other direction. Win!
Yeah, there you go. Look at you, being a hipster and shit.
Yeah.
All right, well, thank everyone for watching, and fuck it.